Marcus Sterling, a real estate developer worth over $300 million, walks into Judge Caprio's courtroom wearing a suit that costs more than most people's monthly rent. His Rolex catches the light as he adjusts his cufflinks. Everything about him screams money, power, and the certainty that he can buy his way out of anything. He's not here for a parking ticket. He's here because he destroyed a family's livelihood, bulldozed their dreams, and did it all with a smile on his face. What he did was technically legal maybe, but morally bankrupt. And the family he destroyed? They've been serving this community for 43 years, feeding generations, creating memories, being the neighborhood's heart. Marcus thought his money and lawyers would walk him right out of this courtroom. What he didn't understand is that in Judge Caprio's courtroom, net worth doesn't equal human worth, and all the lawyers in the world can't save you from moral accountability. So, having read this far, haven't you wondered what he actually did, and how someone with $300 million could end up so completely humbled? Now let's get into it. Like the video, settle in, because this story will restore your faith that justice still exists. What you're about to witness will be David versus Goliath in its most satisfying form. Enjoy. It's Thursday morning at 9:30 a.m. in the Providence Municipal Court. The bailiff announces the state of Rhode Island versus Marcus Sterling and Sterling Development Corporation. Marcus walks in like he owns the courthouse, his expensive shoes clicking on the floor. His lawyer whispers something to him and he nods dismissively. Judge Caprio looks up from his bench. "Good morning, Mr. Sterling." Marcus gives a tight, professional smile. "Your Honor." At least he has the sense to show minimal respect, though it feels rehearsed, calculated. Judge Caprio reviews his papers. "Mr. Sterling, you and your corporation face multiple charges including fraudulent misrepresentation, improper demolition permits, and willful destruction of protected property. The complaint alleges that you knowingly demolished the Moretti family restaurant despite active litigation and a temporary restraining order. How do you plead?" Marcus's lawyer jumps in immediately. "Your Honor, my client pleads not guilty to all charges. Furthermore, we maintain that Sterling Development followed all applicable codes and regulations. Any alleged violations are the result of unfortunate miscommunication between municipal departments." Judge Caprio's eyes narrow slightly. "Mr. Sterling, I'm asking you, not your attorney, did you order the demolition of Moretti's restaurant on March 15th of this year?" Marcus clears his throat. "Your Honor, I authorized my construction team to proceed with demolition of a property that my company legally purchased. The Morettis had been given multiple opportunities to vacate." Multiple opportunities? Judge Caprio's tone suggests he knows there's more to this story. "Mr. Sterling, according to the complaint, the Moretti family had filed an appeal regarding the sale, claiming you used fraudulent appraisal tactics to force them out. There was a temporary restraining order in place preventing demolition until that appeal was heard. Were you aware of this restraining order?" Marcus exchanges a glance with his lawyer. "Your Honor, my legal team handles the details of these transactions. I run a multi-million-dollar company. I can't personally oversee every piece of paperwork." "So you're claiming ignorance?" "I'm claiming that in the complexity of real estate development, sometimes wires get crossed. That's why I hire lawyers, Your Honor, to navigate these technicalities." Judge Caprio leans forward. "Mr. Sterling, a family's 43-year-old business being demolished isn't a technicality. It's a catastrophe for them." Marcus's facade cracks slightly, showing irritation. "Your Honor, with all due respect, business is business. The Morettis were offered fair market value for their property. If they chose not to accept it, that's their prerogative, but they can't stop progress indefinitely." "Progress?" Judge Caprio's voice carries an edge. Is that what you call it? Yes, Your Honor. I'm building a luxury condominium complex that will bring jobs, tax revenue, and economic growth to this community. One old restaurant can't hold an entire neighborhood hostage. The courtroom stirs with murmurs. People are realizing just how little this man cares about what he destroyed. Judge Caprio looks at his notes. Mr. Sterling, let me read you something. This is from the Moretti family's complaint. On March 14th, my legal representative informed Mr. Sterling's office that we had a court date scheduled for March 22nd to present evidence of fraudulent appraisal. We were told the demolition would be postponed pending the hearing. The next morning, at 6 a.m., we arrived to find our restaurant being torn down by Sterling Development bulldozers. Does that sound like miscommunication to you? Marcus shifts in his seat. Your Honor, I don't recall the specific timeline. My project manager handles scheduling. Your project manager works for you, correct? Yes, but... And the demolition happened 12 hours after the Morettis were promised a postponement, correct? Marcus's jaw tightens. The demolition was scheduled weeks in advance. Changing those plans costs money, significant money. How much money, Mr. Sterling? I don't have exact figures, but delaying construction by even 1 week can cost upwards of $50,000 when you factor in equipment rental, labor scheduling, permit windows. Judge Caprio interrupts. So you demolished their restaurant to save $50,000? I demolished a building that I legally owned to keep my project on schedule. A building you legally owned? Judge Caprio's tone sharpens. Mr. Sterling, the sale hadn't been finalized. The Morettis were contesting the appraisal. You had been served with a restraining order. In what interpretation of the law did you legally own that property? Marcus's lawyer jumps in. Your Honor, there are competing interpretations of property law in this case. I'm not asking you, Counselor. I'm asking Mr. Sterling. Judge Caprio's focus doesn't waver. Did you or did you not receive notification of the temporary restraining order? Marcus hesitates, then answers carefully. Your Honor, my office receives hundreds of legal documents every week. It's possible that particular document didn't reach me personally before the demolition occurred. Possible or convenient? Your Honor, I resent the implication. Mr. Sterling, let's watch some footage. The Morettis had security cameras. I think the courtroom should see exactly what your miscommunication looked like. Marcus's confidence finally wavers. Your Honor, I don't see how security footage is relevant. It's extremely relevant, Mr. Sterling. Bailiff, please play the video. The monitors flicker to life. The timestamp reads March 15th, 5:47 a.m. The video shows Moretti's restaurant, a charming brick building with a painted sign that reads Moretti's Family Restaurant since 1981. Flower boxes sit in the windows. A hand-painted mural of Italian countryside decorates one wall. At 5:53 a.m., 2 bulldozers pull up. Then 3 more trucks. A crew of workers begin setting up barriers. At 6:02 a.m., an elderly couple appears on screen, running from their car. This is Antonio and Rosa Moretti, the owners, both in their 70s. Antonio is waving papers, clearly shouting. Rosa has her hands over her mouth in horror. A man in a hard hat approaches them, presumably the foreman. Antonio shows him the papers. The foreman pulls out his phone, makes a call. He's clearly talking to someone, looking at the papers, then shaking his head. He hangs up and says something to Antonio. Antonio's face crumples. At 6:14 a.m., the demolition begins. Rosa collapses into Antonio's arms, sobbing. The cameras capture everything, the first wall coming down, decades of memories being crushed into rubble, family photos visible through broken windows before they're destroyed, the painted mural, someone's labor of love, crumbling to dust. Subscribe to Judge Stories if you believe family legacy matters more than corporate profits. At 6:47 a.m., a different angle shows something damning. A black luxury SUV pulls up. A man in an expensive suit steps out, watches the demolition for a moment, then gets back in and drives away. The video freezes on his face. It's Marcus Sterling. "Mr. Sterling?" Judge Caprio's voice could cut glass. "You said you didn't recall the specific timeline. Does this refresh your memory?" Marcus's face has gone pale. "Your Honor, I drove by the site that morning to check on progress. That's normal for any developer." "You drove by at 6:47 in the morning, 33 minutes after the demolition started, while the elderly couple who built that restaurant stood there watching their life's work being destroyed. I didn't speak to them. I wasn't there when it started." "But you were there while it was happening, and you didn't stop it." Marcus's voice rises defensively. "Why would I stop it? The demolition was scheduled. My crew was following orders." "Orders you gave despite knowing about the restraining order." "I didn't know about—" Marcus stops himself, realizing he's trapped. Judge Caprio continues relentlessly. "Mr. Sterling, we subpoenaed your emails. On March 13th at 11:43 p.m., you received an email from your attorney with the subject line, 'Urgent, Moretti Restraining Order, Halt Demolition.' You opened that email at 11:51 p.m. Care to explain?" Marcus's lawyer tries to intervene. "Your Honor, attorney-client emails. The subject line isn't privileged, Counselor. Mr. Sterling, did you open an email titled, 'Urgent, Moretti Restraining Order, Halt Demolition 8 hours before you demolished their restaurant?'" The courtroom is dead silent. Marcus knows he's caught. "Your Honor, I may have glanced at it, but I didn't read the full content. It was late. I was tired." "You were tired, so you ignored a court order and destroyed a family's legacy." Marcus's arrogance finally returns, his last defense mechanism. "Your Honor, I understand this is emotional, but let's be realistic. Moretti's was a failing business in a deteriorating building. I offered them $800,000, which was more than fair. They could have taken that money and retired comfortably. Instead, they fought me at every turn, trying to squeeze more money out of me." "More money?" "Mr. Sterling, according to the independent appraisal the Morettis commissioned, their property and business were worth $1.4 million. You offered them $800,000. Their appraisal was inflated. Sentimental value isn't real value." Judge Caprio's expression hardens. "To whom, Mr. Sterling? To you? Or to the family that spent 4 decades building something meaningful?" Marcus makes his fatal mistake. "Your Honor, I've been patient with this entire process, but frankly, I don't understand why we're here. I'm building something that will employ people, generate tax revenue, and bring modern luxury living to this neighborhood. One old couple's pasta restaurant can't stand in the way of economic development. That's not how the world works." "That's not how the world works?" Judge Caprio repeats slowly. "Mr. Sterling, the Morettis fed this community for 43 years. They catered weddings, provided free meals to struggling families during hard times, employed dozens of local teenagers as their first jobs. What exactly is your luxury condominium going to provide beyond expensive apartments that working families can't afford?" Marcus's face reddens. "Your Honor, this is becoming a philosophical debate about gentrification." "No, Mr. Sterling. This is becoming a reckoning with your choices. You knew about the restraining order. You demolished anyway. You saw the Morettis watching their life's work being destroyed, and you drove away. You value your construction schedule over their 43 years of service to this community. Business requires tough decisions, Your Honor." "Tough decisions or cruel ones?" Judge Caprio pauses, letting the weight settle. "Mr. Sterling, I'm prepared to impose penalties that will teach you the difference between economic development and moral bankruptcy." Marcus straightens, trying to regain composure. Your Honor, whatever fines you impose, I can afford. Mr. Sterling, that's exactly the problem. You think money solves everything. Judge Caprio's next words silence the entire courtroom. For willful violation of a court-ordered restraining order, I'm fining you $250,000. Marcus doesn't even blink. Pocket change. For fraudulent misrepresentation in property acquisition, an additional $500,000. Still nothing. His lawyer is already calculating how to write this off. For the deliberate destruction of the Moretti family business, you will pay damages in the amount of $2.1 million. Now Marcus reacts. $2.1 million? Your Honor, that's absurd. Their business wasn't worth half that. I disagree, Mr. Sterling. Antonio and Rosa Moretti spent 43 years building something irreplaceable. $2.1 million barely begins to compensate for what you destroyed. Your Honor, this is punitive. You're absolutely right, Mr. Sterling. It is punitive because you need to learn that actions have consequences. But Judge Caprio isn't finished. Additionally, construction on your luxury condominium project is hereby suspended for 1 year. Marcus jumps to his feet. A year? Your Honor, that will cost me tens of millions in delays, financing costs, investor penalties. Good. Maybe that will teach you to respect court orders. This is outrageous. You can't just halt my entire project. Judge Caprio's voice becomes steel. Mr. Sterling, you halted the Moretti's entire lives. You can survive a construction delay. Marcus's lawyer tries desperately. Your Honor, my client has investors' obligations, contracts. Your client had an obligation to follow the law. He chose not to. Judge Caprio delivers his final blow. Mr. Sterling, you're also ordered to personally work 200 hours of community service at the Providence Community Kitchen, where you'll learn what it means to serve people instead of serving yourself. Marcus's mouth falls open. Community service? I'm a CEO. I have a company to run. You'll find time, Mr. Sterling. 4 hours every Saturday for the next year. This is humiliation. You're trying to make an example of me. You're absolutely right, Mr. Sterling. I am, because wealthy people like you need to learn. That privilege doesn't mean immunity from consequences. As the bailiffs prepare to escort Marcus out, he makes one final attempt. Your Honor, I'll appeal this. My lawyers will tear this judgment apart. Judge Caprio's response is devastating. Appeal all you want, Mr. Sterling. While you do, the Morettis will have $2.1 million to rebuild their lives, and you'll be serving food to people who work harder in 1 day than you've worked in your entire privileged life. Marcus Sterling came to court expecting his lawyers and money to make everything go away. Instead, he leaves with millions in fines, a year-long construction halt, and Saturday mornings spent learning humility, one soup bowl at a time. The story goes viral within days. Marcus becomes the face of corporate greed meeting community justice. And Antonio and Rosa Moretti? They use their settlement to open a new restaurant 2 blocks away, bigger and better, with a plaque reading, "Justice served thanks to Judge Caprio." Sometimes justice means showing someone that all the money in the world can't buy back your humanity once you've sold it. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. See you in the next video. Stay healthy.